For a long time, the thing that I remembered most about Nigeria was my mom raising all three of us. I didn't understand that for the most part, why my dad wasn't there. I couldn't really remember my dad for the most part. It's very hard when you're growing up like that, it's very hard to forget the way that the whole village raised us.
And it wasn't like the village where we lived in huts. We had a house, but it wasn't really, we didn't have plumbing. You know, we had to go to the well to get water. Electricity was rare. That's a scarce thing.
When we needed food, we grew food. We grew tomatoes, we grew crops, things of that nature. So that was a part of how we were surviving. But also, my mother was a teacher. And on top of that, we owned a convenience store, which we sold pretty much everything. My mom was an ultimate hustler. When my dad came back, and I remember it was such a big deal to just everyone in the village. Having 3 boys in Nigeria and a wife must have been very difficult. As a military man, he was a major in the army in Nigeria. He could have stayed there and life could have been easier for him. But no, he had bigger plans. He saw the bigger picture. That's one of the reasons why my dad is my hero. When we eventually moved here, we get picked up by our dad at the airport and we're all together. I felt complete. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was my mom, my dad, 3 boys.
It was hard to adjust to the school system, you know, because kids are mean. And kids would tell you, hey, why don't you say this to the teachers? Call her this. And I was always in the principal's office because I had no idea what that means and things like that. So kids are cruel.
My dad was always working. My dad was a very, very, very hardworking man. It was ambition that said that, you know what, I need to go study abroad. I need to go to the US to study because I want to make something of myself. Which also led to him saying that I don't just want to work for somebody for the rest of my life. I want to start my own business. His ambulance company was like, I think top 2, top 3 in Dallas. The next step in order to grow it more was to, hire an outside billing company.
These guys are running the business and these guys are like, yeah, we're going to help you grow this business. Like any businessman, I hired the right people. Yeah, help me grow the business.
And so he hired them and the company were doing things that were on the up and up.
He didn't really do his research well enough on the guys that he hired. So eventually they go under investigation because my dad was the owner of the company. They put it all on him, even though the people that were doing, the things that were wrong in the company admitted to doing the wrong things.
I get a call from my mom and she's screaming, she's crying on the phone. I just remember my heart sinking in my chest. I just remember feeling so powerless.
It comes to a certain point where people just don't want you to be, you're an immigrant and you're succeeding and people don't want you to be there. And, it's one of those situations where my dad hired the people that he thought were the right people to do what he didn't know. Because those guys started their own company doing the same. It goes to attest to just the justice system here, man. It's so crooked. And it's so backwards.
My dad had a conversation with us and said that, hey, they're offering me this plea deal. When you're an innocent man and they're telling you got to spend 3 years of your life away from your family in jail, we're not going to take that. And he felt that the justice system would serve him.
So he goes to trial. And, bro, we've seen murderers get bail. They said no, they wouldn't even grant him bail. My dad's a citizen, turned over his passport and everything. They said, no, we're not going to give you bail. We're going to hold you. We're going to freeze all your accounts. You can't really fight the case. We'll give you 15 years.
I couldn't fathom it. I couldn't. Some murderers get less time than that. How do you justify giving him that much time?
My father's been incarcerated since 2009.
Having to go into the facility, at that point, he's just a number in the system. And then for me to have to get in the car and drive away, and he has to stay there. It floored me big time. He told me that their workrooms, they have TVs in there. And he said that UFC stuff is always on the TV there. And so it was kind of a little extra push. Now I'm able to give my father something else to look forward to. And he's able to share with the people that were around him on a daily basis that hey, that's my son. I can see a change in my dad. I can see the excitement. I can see life being brought into him. When I got into the sport, I said, you know, I want to be champion one day. And then I just kept working and working, and it happened. It's been incredible because I remember, just as you mentioned, 2011, you know, having the pleasure of working on the show like The Ultimate Fighter and actually seeing what these UFC fighters would go through.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I walked away and I said, I'm never doing that. It makes me feel great because it's one of those things, a manifestation, you know. I know a lot of people said that about your career. Oh, you know, you won't be champion, and then in the tail end, you pull it out and you run away with that belt. And so, you know, it's one of those things. And I was like 9th on the list, and I was like, oh, you know, it'd be cool to be number one. I want to be number one day. Next thing you know, it's happening. And so I think it just goes to attest to, as long as I continue to work, you know, I'll accomplish a lot of good things in this sport. And now, you know, people are telling me, oh, you're on this incredible streak. So I don't even pay attention. I just want to go in there taking one fight at a time because I knew there was more for me to give. This sport's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't understand that I never had an amateur career. I didn't fight one amateur fight. I essentially learned on the job. I came in with a tool that, you know, would get me to the dance. When you're learning something and you don't know how to do this job other than one way, you have to do it that way to be successful. And so, of course, I did it. But, you know, there's a difference between never evolving and never changing. There's professional fighters right now that don't even know how to block a kick. I've just been blessed to be with the right coaches at the right time of my career. It's tough because in this sport, yes, I understand now we're in the sport of entertainment. We have to entertain the fans. It is what it is. I understand it and I get it. We all understand that in order for you to grow, you have to accept the reality of what has happened. But, you know, one of the first principles that we learn in the sport is discipline and respect. You have to be responsible for what you say. And at the end of the day, as a man, you have to have enough integrity to look your daughter in the face and have her understand who you are.
Yeah.
And so if she's looking at something on television saying, Daddy, why do you say that stuff? Is that you?
Yep.
Are you gonna tell her, oh no, it's just fake? How do you feel as a man doing that? I stood behind my work, I continued to work, and I still got here. I didn't need to do that. That's the difference. I expect the most dangerous, most violent fights, so nothing surprises me when I get in there. And I try to do that each and every fight. And you want to do what the coaches are telling you. So when you realize that things aren't going your way, or the moment they stop going your way, you're going to resort back to exactly what you want to do. You really see what I mean when I say that there's levels to this game. I think I'm going to stick around for as long as I'm able to motivate myself to continue to get up at 6 or 7 a.m. to go train. As long as I'm able to motivate myself to, you know, be gone for 9 weeks away from my daughter. But, you know, until then, you know, if I don't feel it, then I'm going to be smart and wise enough to be able to walk away, you know, when I still can. You know, I want to retire from the sport. I don't want the sport to retire me.
Sure.
That's what's wild about this is, even when I was getting into the sport, I said I wanted to be UFC champion, but I didn't really know how it was going to happen. You know, I had no idea. I'd never really punched and kicked anybody before. But I put the time in and I thought about it and I manifested it and it happened. It's a collective, it's a joint effort with everything.
Yeah.
Everything contributes to you being where you want to be. And it's just one of those things you imagine, but you don't really know how it's gonna happen. Yeah. And now I'm in a position to where I'm here. The only word I can put into, you know, place about this is that I'm blessed to be in this position. So I don't take it for granted. I'm grateful.